a mysterious one that I can't read. So we're going to give you 10 minutes max.
Thank you. Mayors, council members, thank you for this chance to speak. We're here in the wake of the election, foremost to express our gratitude for you, for your hard work, for the elected officials, for the city staff, for the police departments. We're grateful for your work in creating a beautiful, safe home for us in Santa Barbara. We also have 2 requests today. We'd like to ask you to issue a statement that's similar to what was issued by the California Assembly and Senate, which I'll read in a moment. Just reassuring Santa Barbara residents that you're committed to upholding our values. And we'd also like you to step up action in Santa Barbara in any way possible, to be an inspiring example of a climate-safe, sustainable, and inclusive community in California, in our nation. I'd like to read the joint statement by the California Assembly and Senate that was written the day after the election. Today we woke up feeling like strangers in a foreign land because yesterday Americans expressed their views on a pluralistic and democratic society that are clearly inconsistent with the values of the people of California. We have never been more proud to be Californians. By a margin in the millions, Californians overwhelmingly rejected politics fueled by resentment, bigotry, and misogyny. The largest state of the union and the strongest driver of our nation's economy has shown it has its surest conscience as well. California is and must always be a refuge of justice and opportunity for the people of all walks, talks, ages, and aspirations, regardless of how you look, where you live, what language you speak, or who you love. California has long set an example for other states to follow, and California will defend its people and our progress. We are not going to allow one election to reverse generations of progress at the height of our historic diversity, scientific advancement, economic output, and sense of global responsibility. We will be reaching out to federal, state, and local officials to evaluate how a Trump presidency will potentially impact federal funding of ongoing state programs, job-creating investments reliant on foreign trade, and federal enforcement of laws affecting the rights of people living in our state. We will maximize the time during this presidential transition to defend our accomplishments using every tool at our disposal. While Donald Trump may have won the presidency, he hasn't changed our values. America is greater than any one man or party. We will not be dragged back into the past. We will lead the resistance to any effort that would shred our social fabric or our Constitution. California was not a part of this nation when its history began, but we are clearly now the keeper of its future. Our first request is that our city echo this powerful statement, that you echo this powerful statement to reassure our residents in Santa Barbara that you're committed to sustainability, to inclusivity. We're grateful now and always that we have a new police chief who's committed to community-based policing. That's really, really amazing for us. And we're heartened to hear that the police are planning to make a similar statement affirming their existing policy to maintain excellent relations with our law-abiding, undocumented neighbors. One of the most inspirational features of Hispanic culture is the strength of family bonds. And Hispanic families in Santa Barbara are now in a state of heightened fear that relatives may be deported. Undocumented immigrants create the backbone of our local economy. They work hard, they're law-abiding. We owe our undocumented neighbors a strong statement of solidarity at a time when our president-elect has promised to tear their families apart. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Art Ludwig, who has 4 speakers also ceding their time. Matt Turner, are you here? Anjali Ortel. Nancy Murdoch. I saw Nancy earlier. Nancy, there you are. And Margie Bushman. Okay, great. And then I see Sarah Newell as well. It seems like an additional one. All right, so you have your 10 minutes.
Thank you. Madam Mayor, City Council members, I spoke with you last about sustainability performance metrics. I'd like to share a brief preview of possible Trump performance metrics. The morning after, when I Googled Trump acceleration of climate change, the top result was the respected science journal Nature. They had already crafted a survey which popped up. It asked, what do you think of the election? How will this affect your research? And how will this affect science generally? This is what I wrote to them. The election of Donald Trump may be the greatest single inflection point in the arc of human history. Trump has promised to take the wind out of the sails of climate science and global climate agreement and to fast-track the development of tar sands and fracking. The math on the vast tar sands, the highest carbon oil source, indicates game over for climate change. Human climate change-related deaths were 0 150 years ago. They are currently 400,000 annually and climbing. We are out of cushion. This is do or die time for Earth's climate. If Trump does what he says, Trump-driven climate change acceleration will geometrically increase human mortality for centuries. This will likely result in a number of human deaths somewhere between those caused by Pol Pot and those caused by Hitler. It's between 1.5 and 17 million. It will also change the pH and level of the ocean, result in thousands of additional species extinctions, and massively increase disruption to all human enterprise. Trump will control the world's greatest military, the FBI, and an unprecedented depth and breadth of surveillance data on every would-be activist. As I was still processing the climate implications, I heard a Russian journalist counseling Americans on recognizing the stages of totalitarianism. The coming federal changes will not be an easy fight. However, in Santa Barbara County, Trump was defeated by a 2-to-1 margin. With all the advantages we enjoy in Santa Barbara, we are perfectly positioned to take the most effective direct action of all, to create an obviously superior alternative. Our second request is that the city act to make Santa Barbara an example of how the world can be climate safe, sustainable, and inclusive. A good first step would be for the council to convene calendared meetings of the city's sustainability committee, ideally outside of working hours when more people can participate. Since the election, when my liberal coastal elite bubble burst, I've been listening to Trump supporters with an open mind. They didn't vote for Trump so much as for a drastic shift in direction. I was shocked to find that most of what they thought they were voting for I actually agreed with. Santa Barbara famously started the modern environmental movement after the 1969 oil spill. Now it is time to retake the lead. Lancaster, California, in the meth belt of the Inland Empire under a Republican mayor, has become the solar capital of California. They are on track to become the first carbon-neutral city in the United States. Quoting the mayor, "I may be a Republican, but I am not an idiot. Climate change is real, and we have to deal with it." Greenfield, Kansas, assessed their prospects after years of depopulation and a devastating tornado. They decided to rebuild as the green building capital of the United States, a goal they have achieved. In Los Angeles, the departments of flood control, water resources, and sanitation are working collaboratively on stormwater infiltration projects that aim to replace the majority of environmentally costly state water with local supply. If there's something more humiliating than Los Angeles kicking our butts on sustainable water management, I cannot think of what it is. The city put a ton of work into a sensible climate action plan, general plan, bicycle master plan, food action plan, etc. These are all excellent policies. However, the translation of these policies into action is lagging. The new zoning ordinance, for example, is still diametrically opposed to the realization of the sustainability and affordability goals of the general plan. When we have a groundwater sustainability plan, the INZO will be in opposition to that as well. We suddenly have no more time to dither. We owe the youth decisive action in order to hand the city over in good condition. What were our 2050 goals should now be our 2025 goals. People voted for a change in direction. It is time for us to get off our environmental laurels and lead the world to show what is possible. Santa Barbara can and should light an inspiring, replicable path through the dangers the world is facing. We realize you are already understaffed and overworked. We stand ready to put public wind in your government sails towards this good place and to help in any other way we can. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ludwig. Next speaker is Andrea Rosolinski.
sustainability plan, the INZO will be in opposition to that as well. We suddenly have no more time to dither. We owe the youth decisive action in order to hand the city over in good condition. What were our 2050 goals should now be our 2025 goals. People voted for a change in direction. It is time for us to get off our environmental laurels and lead the world to show what is possible. Santa Barbara can and should light an inspiring, replicable path through the dangers the world is facing. We realize you are already understaffed and overworked. We stand ready to put public wind in your government sails towards this good place and to help in any other way we can. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ludwig. Next speaker is Andrea Rosalinski. Speaker is Kara Carrick. Okay. Next one is Wesley Roque.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem White and City Council. I appreciate all the work you do. I'm here to talk about sustainability in Santa Barbara. I'm with a nonprofit, Santa Barbara Permaculture Network. We've been here in the city almost 20 years. Wow. And we've been the forerunner of many of the policies that you move forward. We help educate the population to allow them to kind of understand it and be able to be good citizens. So with this idea of this education, this year we started at the beginning of the year, had a proclamation from the city for our work with bringing and explaining COP21 to the citizens. So we really appreciated that honor. And we have a program called Civics 101 for Climate Change that we're doing further on. One thing I would like to see in the future is I go to the city report at the Chamber of Commerce each year. And this year, it's great. I mean, it's all about what makes the city run. But there was just one slide there about what we're doing as far as the impact of climate. And then this was what the mayor signed, the Compact of Mayors, back in January 5th. And I would like to see, there's a thing in here that goes through everything but says report. I would like to see the report back to the citizens, but greatly if it's part of the city's report. That would be incredible. And then to remind us that we've been empowered by the preamble of the adoption of the Paris Agreement. And it goes like this. Agreement to uphold and promote regional and international cooperation in order to mobilize a stronger and a more ambitious climate action by all parties and non-party stakeholders, including civil society, private sector, financial institutions, cities, and other subnational authorities, local communities, and indigenous peoples. So we have been given by the UN, or because we signed it, we've been given kind of marching orders that we as cities are also responsible for this. And I'd like to see Santa Barbara be a leader in this. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Next speaker is Kenneth Locke, followed by Ms. Murillo.
Thank you. To respond to some of the public comment, yesterday our youth council held a meeting to meet the new police chief, and one of the questions that she was asked was about our police department and would they act on federal orders to deport undocumented people living in Santa Barbara. And you can read her response in the Newshawk article, and I can tell you that that our policy is for the police department to enforce the law without asking people about their immigration status. So I was grateful to hear that response, and I would encourage people to be in touch with the chief with your thoughts on how we will handle that going forward. Some people talked about what's happening in our school districts and the undocumented students or the students who have parents who are undocumented. I've set up a meeting with Kate Parker, a school board member, for Friday afternoon, and we're going to talk to some students as well. If anyone has an interest in being at that meeting, our secretary is through those doors. Let me know and leave your contact information there. And then a question, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, if I may, to Mr. Casey, on our climate change action plan. If I'm remembering correctly, we heard a report about sea level rise not too long ago. When would the entire climate change action plan come back to the City Council? We do an adaptive management process, and I guess I'm asking you when, for the people concerned about our policies related to carbon emissions and what the city is doing.
Madam Mayor, council members, without going into too much detail because it's not on our agenda to really have a dialogue about this, we do have an adopted climate action plan. It has implementation measures that we continue to work on. We're doing a local coastal update that's looking at sea level rise very carefully. We've just recently given you an update on that. And I think the Sustainability Committee, we're going to be engaging more on kind of what's the next implementation of our city's sustainability efforts. So I think that you'll see some items coming forward in that regard as well. We don't have a specific date in mind for giving you a status on the climate action plan. If you'd like us to do that, we touch on it briefly at the Joint Planning Commission Council work sessions every 6 months because it's part of that long laundry list of items that the planning staff are working on. If you'd like something more specific, we could do that if there's an interest in the council.
Thank you. I encourage people to follow up with me on that as well. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ms. Murillo. Mr. Dominguez?
I want to say that I'm really glad that the speakers came today and talked at this moment in our history. A lot of the policy stuff we deal with gets my mind really active, and I'm trying to juggle and balance a lot of factors. But hearing people speak today was just, my heart was in my throat, and really just touching to hear people's comments. And it's also great to see so many millennials here and younger folks. And everyone up here is committed to protecting the Constitution. We all swore that oath, and we're all 100% committed. We each have maybe different priorities, which amendments we're really pushing for. I taught Fourth Amendment law and worked in the Fourth and Fifth Amendment, so those are things that I'm specialized at and love to talk about. But everyone up here is committed to protecting not only the Bill of Rights, but the environment. Everyone lives here because we love California's coast. And again, we have different priorities, and what shapes our priorities is all of you. When you come in and talk to us, when you call in, when you send emails, it helps us redirect our focus and prioritize things. So keep up the great work, and thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Mr. Dominguez, and well said. Yes, thank you for coming out today and speaking your mind. Okay, we move on then to the consent agenda, and we have some items to read.